No matter where you stand on this very large stimulus bill, it's now going to be signed into law, and I'm sure we all hope that it will get the economy moving. But whether it does or not, the obligation that all Christians face is to help one another. And if you've noticed an increase of people who need help, you aren't alone. This week I got a call from one of the ladies at the St. Vincent de Paul Society that they were working with a family living in a car. And they wanted to see if we could help. And I said, sure. And I suppose some people will be trying to console themselves that maybe there are a lot of con women out there, and that you have to be really, really careful. After all, there were these people a few years ago in New Orleans holding signs that said, "We'll work for food," and it turned out they made an awful lot of money with holding that sign up, and that's what they really wanted to do, is hold the sign up. The problem for me, and I think for every pastor in America, is it's very hard to tell who's trying to fool you and who isn't. And that just by being willing to help people in need, occasionally you're going to get taken. It's just the way it works. And I do want to assure you that reading your Bible, reading about Jesus, won't make this any easier, because Jesus never seemed to turn anyone away. In today's gospel reading from St. Mark, a man with leprosy comes to Jesus for help, because Jesus was already attracting a great deal of attention because of his miraculous healings. The man heard the stories and believed them. Now, we know this because he got down on his knees and he begged Jesus, "If you are willing, you can make me clean." Well, that's a tremendous statement of faith. Now, please understand, leprosy in the ancient world was terrible. It was a terrible scourge. It was considered a living death. And if you were a Jew, it meant you'd be banished from the community. It seemed that your flesh actually died and decayed while you were still alive. And so people could become horribly disfigured by it. And because ancient societies did not know how to treat it and cure it, leprosy and lepers were treated as if they were already dead. Now remember, the story about Naaman is not about a Jew. He was not treated in the same way by the king of Aram, the way Jewish lepers were treated. In Leviticus, you find the sentence for a leper. Leviticus 13:46 says, "He shall remain unclean as long as he has the disease. He is unclean. He shall dwell alone in a habitation outside the camp." And it goes on. The leper had to go with rent and torn clothes, disheveled hair, and a covering upon his upper lip. And as he went along, the leper was ordered to cry out, to warn people. He would cry out, "Unclean, unclean." And they would have other people would have a chance to get out of the way. Lepers were forbidden from entering the temple. See, they were outcasts of the society, but they were also outcasts of the religious community. They could not go into the temple. They could not go into Jerusalem or any walled city. It was a terrible, terrible kind of banishment from society. And on top of that, you were sick. If you violated these rules, the penalty for doing so was 40 lashes. And as you probably know, being beaten and whipped like that would kill a number of people, and so many people were whipped to death. The man who fell at Jesus' knees was desperate. I mean, we really have to see that. Absolutely desperate, and did not doubt that Jesus could heal him. The question was quite direct. Was Jesus willing to heal him? Now, you and I know that God can heal us from cancer. He can heal our wounded hearts. He can heal our broken relationships. He can do it. But often the question is God willing? And what we find in the Gospel of St. Mark today is God is. And that's what Jesus says. I am willing. The leper says, if you are willing, you can make me clean. And St. Mark writes, filled with compassion, Jesus reaches out his hand and touched the man and said, I am willing. Be clean. And immediately the leprosy left the man and he was cured. Now what's so fascinating about this small passage is Jesus' response. Jesus reached out and touched the man. You didn't do that. You didn't touch him. You absolutely did not touch a leper. Because if you did, you became unclean. And you could be cast out of society and the city and the temple and everything you knew. William Barclay, the great biblical commentator, wrote this: contact with a leper defiled the person who had that contact. And the Jewish law enumerated 61 different contacts which brought defilement. And the defilement which contact with the leper brought was second only to the defilement caused by contact with a dead body.